RealAgriculture.com's coverage of the Western Canadian Dairy Seminar is brought to you by Alberta Milk.
Dairy is really regarded today, at least in North America, as a commodity. It's a very kind of standard beverage that's sold in commodity packaging, commodity package. 2% milk is 2% milk is 2% milk. There isn't a lot of brand distinction, there's not a lot of loyalty. And as demographics change, as demand changes, the opportunity, I think, exists for dairy to begin to redefine the category. How do we do more creative packaging, create single-serve packages, do things that make dairy more attractive to today's consumers who don't have the same size of family that we used to have, who are aging, who are looking for different products that meet different kinds of needs for nutrition and health and active lifestyles. Well, historically, that's the way we've sold milk. It just kind of comes in the large container, whether it's a liter or a gallon. You kind of buy that large package, and that's what's been available. But that doesn't meet the needs of today's consumer, or perhaps even more importantly, tomorrow's consumer, who may be willing to pay a premium for a smaller package that is perceived to have greater value, whether that's in flavoring or longer shelf life or other attributes that consumer believes has greater value. Animal care, nutrition, nutritional values, health benefits, etc. Well, there's phenomenal opportunity. The demand is simply going to continue to outstrip supply. Wen Jiabao, before he retired recently as the Premier of China, one of his dreams was to make sure there was sufficient milk for every child in China every day. Well, that's a great dream, but it's going to require a phenomenal amount of milk. And so the global growth is going to be significant, and it's also going to require a lot of demand on natural resources. So we're on a collision course where you've got that exploding global demand for increased animal protein, dairy specifically, and yet those are very resource intensive products. They require a lot of water, they require a lot of land, and there's also a tremendous pressure on those natural resources. So there's going to be competition, and we're going to have to figure out how do we manage that competition. Can we become more efficient in our production so we use fewer natural resources, continue to meet that growing global demand? And then the other question obviously for the Canadian dairy industry is, what role does supply management play in that conversation? Do you continue to have a stable price in Canada and focus on the domestic market, or do you look at expanding and trying to capture some of the global opportunities as well? It's a great opportunity, it's a great challenge, but I think we also have opportunities that we didn't have before. We are in the midst of a phenomenal transition in communication, as evidenced by what you're doing. As we transition from mass communication to masses of communicators, we can do a much better job of targeting those consumers and those influencers who have the ability to begin to help define animal agriculture. How do we engage with them in a way that is meaningful for them? How do we help them understand our commitment to do what's right, what society expects of those in food production? To produce safe food responsibly, to protect animals, to care for the environment, and to be good stewards of our natural resources. Yeah, I'm not an expert in supply management. I think the conversation has to take place within the dairy community as you look at what are the potential trade-offs. Do you say, for us as a Canadian dairy community, having a stable price is more important than having access to the global markets? That's a strategic decision. Or do you say having access to global markets is a better opportunity for us and we're willing to forego a stable price to try and capture that? I think that the global demand will encourage that conversation to take place. That those in the dairy community, much like the gentleman that we were just visiting with, are interested in how do we continue to grow our business, how do we continue to grow dairy. And that's going to be limited in a supply management, but you're given the guarantee of having a stable price. So it's an interesting conversation that has to take place and really be done within the dairy community to try to come up with a collective strategy and policy that you think is right for dairy in Canada. I think it's to recognize that we're going to continue to see an incredibly dynamic global marketplace, and that dynamic marketplace is going to impact the Canadian dairy industry. And so the Canadian dairy industry needs to be aware of what's happening globally, understand what that potential impact is going to be, and continue to make those strategic decisions to say, okay, consumers are aging, Consumers in the developed world are consuming less protein. How do we repackage our product to make it more attractive to them? How do we engage with them? And then do we continue to say we would rather have a stable price than access to the global market? Or do you say we'd rather have access to the global market in exchange for giving up that stable price? That's a hard conversation, but it's a conversation that leaders can encourage and leaders can help facilitate so it's done productively and in a way that benefits the Canadian dairy community.